A gunman on a college campus in Seattle. One person killed, 2 wounded, and the hero student tackling the shooter as he was reloading.
June 5th, 2014 is the day shooter Aaron Ibarra was humbled when John Mice tackled him. Despite having a gun and a knife, the shooter soon discovered he'd messed with the wrong person. These are school shooters messing with the wrong people.
One of the students who helped end the Colorado school shooting is calling the attackers cowards and praising a friend who died confronting one of them.
Students like Brendan Biley already had the shooters pinned to the ground.
May 7, 2019, 2 shooters stormed STEM school Highlands Ranch in Colorado with the intention to massacre, but they didn't expect anybody would stand up to them and foul their plan. Devin Erickson and Alec McKinney came prepared for this mass destruction. Erickson was armed with a Glock 19 9mm semi-automatic pistol, a weapon capable of holding up to 15 rounds in its mag. This handgun, easily concealable yet incredibly deadly at close range, must have been chosen because of these advantages. McKinney, on the other hand, carried a Winchester 12-gauge pump-action shotgun, a formidable firearm that could deliver devastating damage with each pull of the trigger. Together, they brought all kinds of ammunition, ensuring they had more than enough firepower to inflict max casualties. Their intent was crystal clear. They sought to wreak havoc and leave behind a scene of carnage. As the day would progress, no one really could have anticipated the horror that was about to unfold. Erickson and McKinney, their faces painted with eerie makeup, stalked the hallways, brandishing their weapons. The first shots rang out, shattering the calm. Startled by the gunfire, students and staff scramble for cover. As Erickson and McKinney moved through the school, they fired indiscriminately, their bullets tearing through flesh and ricocheting off walls. What they didn't expect was anybody standing in their way. They were wrong, as 3 students step up and show that they're not going to allow anyone to terrorize their school on their watch. 18-year-old Kendrick Castillo, without a moment's hesitation, sprang into action, choosing to confront the shooter head-on. In a valiant attempt to save his classmates, Castillo lunged at Erickson, trying to disarm him. Sadly, he was met with a fatal gunshot to the chest, but his action had created an opportunity to foil this deadly attack and at least slow the attacker down. Seeing what Castillo did, a chain reaction of heroic acts began to set off. 2 students, Brendan Bialy and Joshua Jones, were motivated to step in. Bialy isn't the kind of guy you want to be in a fight with. He's incredibly fit, with the heart of a warrior. According to him, he'd always been prepared for situations like this and dreamt of joining the U.S. Marines after graduation.
What I thought I'd be able to do in a situation like that was the reality of what I did.
The brave teen helped subdue one of the 2 suspects in Tuesday's shooting at STEM school Highlands Ranch.
Displaying incredible physical prowess and determination, Bialy tackled Erickson, ignoring the fact that Erickson still had a loaded gun in his hand. On Bialy's side was Jones, who with unwavering resolve joined the struggle, helping to subdue Erickson. In this scuffle, Erickson opened fire and managed to hit Jones twice. A shot went through the hip and the other in the leg. But this didn't deter these heroes. They kept up with the fight until they disarmed the shooter and subdued him. Interestingly, Jones was so focused on this mission that he didn't even know he'd been shot twice.
Jones said that he did not realize he had been shot until the gunman was on the ground.
Fortunately, police arrived on time and were shocked when they saw that Bialy and Jones had already apprehended one of the shooters. The attack left 18-year-old Kendrick Castillo dead, his life cut short by a senseless act of violence. 8 other students suffered injuries, some life-threatening, forever bearing the physical and emotional scars of that fateful day. Brendan Bialy's actions were hailed as heroic by many, including the U.S. Marine Corps, who recognized his courage and commitment to protecting his classmates. Yet Bialy remained humbled, insisting that Kendrick Castillo's name should be remembered above all.
Mies, a 22-year-old senior at the time, dashes out in bare feet and pepper sprays him right in the face, wrestling the gun from Ibarra's hand.
June 5th, 2014, one of the most extraordinary acts of courage was caught on camera when John Mace tackled a school shooter in the most remarkable way. Despite having a gun and a knife, the shooter was simply no match for Mace. It was a seemingly ordinary Thursday afternoon at Seattle Pacific University. Students were bustling between classes. The campus was alive with the usual hum of academic life. But for 27-year-old Aaron Ibarra, this day was anything but ordinary. ordinary. Ibarra had a history of mental health issues and a disturbing fascination with the Columbine shootings, leading to a meticulously planned attack. In the days leading up to June 5, 2014, Ibarra visited the SPU campus, posing as a prospective student. He convinced two female students to give him a private tour of Otto Miller Hall, where he scoped out potential escape routes and areas of vulnerability. On the day of the attack, Ibarra drove his white pickup truck to the campus, armed with a Browning over-under shotgun, a large fixed-blade hunting knife, and additional ammunition. At approximately 3 p.m., Ibarra parked his truck and approached Paul Lee, a 19-year-old freshman outside Otto Miller Hall. Without warning, Ibarra shot Lee in the back of the head at close range, killing him instantly. The shotgun pellets also struck Thomas Fowler, who was standing nearby. Ibarra would then attempt to shoot a female student, but his gun misfired, giving her a chance to escape. He then entered Otto Miller Hall, where he encountered Tristan Cooper Roth. He told Tristan that he had just shot a man outside for disrespecting him and warned him not to move. Moments later, Ibarra saw Sarah Williams descending the stairs. He fired at her, hitting her in the upper torso. As Cooper Roth tried to flee, Ibarra's gun misfired again. As Aaron attempted to reload his shotgun, John Mace, a student building monitor, saw his opportunity. Armed with only a can of pepper spray, Mace courageously approaches Ibarra and sprays him in the face. All disoriented, Aaron was tackled to the ground by Mace, who then wrestled the shotgun away from him. He reached for his hunting knife, but Mace kicked it out of his hand and held him down until help arrived. 911 dispatchers began receiving frantic calls about the shooting, and within minutes, Seattle Police Department officers arrive on scene and secure the area. Paul Lee was pronounced dead on arrival at Harborview Medical Center. Sarah Williams was in critical condition and underwent emergency surgery. Thomas Fowler was treated for serious injuries and kept overnight for observation. Now, John Mace may have been recognized and given many awards as a hero, but he remains humble about what he did that day to save many more lives. He believes the media should focus on the victims and not his heroic act.
First thing I see is him open his jacket and him pull a big gun out of it. All the kids just start screaming.
On May 17, 2019, high school student Angel Granados Diaz walked into his school with a loaded shotgun with determination to carry out his mission. What was to end in tragedy became an inspirational story, thanks to the quick action of Coach Keenan Lowe in that intense moment. The incident unfolds at Park Rose High School in Portland, Oregon, where Keenan Lowe was the football coach. He was a former star wide receiver for the University of Oregon Ducks, who had always been a pillar of strength and guidance for his students. Now, his presence at the school was a source of comfort and security. However, on this fateful day, his skills would be put to the ultimate test. About noon of that day, 18-year-old Angel Granados Diaz was walking through the hallways with a loaded shotgun hidden under his jacket. You see, Angel was going through mental health crises, and his intentions, though not entirely clear, were undoubtedly dangerous. He entered into a classroom, opened his trench coat to reveal the gun. From that moment, everything happened so quick. The students immediately ran out of that class as fast as they could through another door. Coach Lowe was standing close to the doorway just a few feet away from Angel. Without thinking too much about his safety, Lowe jumped at Angel and grabbed the gun with both hands. Now it's a fight between coach and student. Both of them held the gun with both hands. Coach Lowe was making sure that the gun didn't go off facing the fleeing students or himself. He used his strength and determination to overpower the student, eventually managing to wrestle the gun away. Coach Lowe was able to hand the shotgun over to another teacher as he pulled Angel out of the class into the hallway. All this while, Coach Lowe was holding the student in a tight hug, trying to calm him. At this moment, something really amazing happened. Instead of reacting with anger or fear, Lowe chose compassion. He embraced the distraught student, holding him tightly. And this act of empathy was captured on security footage, showing Lowe comforting this student, who was clearly in a state of emotional turmoil. Who could have expected this situation would turn out to be positively emotional? Angel had told the coach that he didn't mean to hurt anyone. He'd come to class that day only to end his own life. This young man had bottled up a lot of pain and was severely depressed. It was later discovered that the shotgun had only one round in it, and Angel had inscribed 05/17/2019 on the casing, which was the date of this incident, showing it was actually carefully planned. They also discovered a suicide note in his jacket, so it seemed Angel was sincere. Lowe's actions not only prevented a potential tragedy, but also highlighted the power of understanding and human connection in moments of crisis. His bravery and quick thinking turned a potentially deadly encounter into a moment of profound humanity. Granados Diaz, who was suffering from a mental health crisis, later pled guilty to the charges relating to carrying a loaded firearm in a public place. He was given 3 years of probation and was going to get all the help he needed to recover. Lowe's actions were widely praised, and he was hailed as a hero. He's received awards and recognition for this bravery, including the Congressional Medal of Honor Citizen Honor Award.
And I interrupted his plans the moment I stepped in. If it had been 5 minutes later, he would have stepped out and shot people in the hallway.
January 20th, 2017, Logan Cole stepped into the restroom of West Liberty Salem High School in Ohio to check his hair, not knowing there was a student in there with a loaded gun preparing to unleash terror on the school. And what happens next isn't what anyone could have imagined. Eli Serna, a 17-year-old student, walked into the school with a shotgun concealed in his bag. All he needed was a place and opportunity to get the gun out without anyone seeing him. Later that morning, he chose the boys' bathroom as his staging area, hoping no one would walk in as he prepared for his attack. Eli had been struggling with severe depression and feelings of isolation, but despite his quiet demeanor, he harbored a storm of emotions that had led him to this point to carry out a tragic act of violence. At approximately 7:30 a.m., Eli entered the school's bathroom and he was just bringing the shotgun out of his bag when Logan Cole, a 16-year-old student known for his friendly nature, walked in. He couldn't believe his eyes, seeing a student with a shotgun and a ski mask on. Logan immediately realized that Eli was about to step out and start a shooting spree. For a second, the two teens stared at each other. Then, without warning, Eli raised his shotgun and fired twice, hitting Logan in the chest and back.
A bunch of air just like shoved me toward the side, and I don't have any memory of getting shot a second time, but obviously it happened.
Logan fell to the floor bleeding and in immense pain. However, he showed courage despite having over 200 shotgun pellets in his body from those shots and a broken tooth after he hit the floor. While other people might have been writhing in pain and begging for their lives, Logan was not begging for his. He looked Eli in the eyes and told him not to proceed with this massacre. Though Logan's injuries made him too weak to fight the shooter physically, he was able to wrestle him emotionally, and surprisingly it worked.
And it turned out to be Logan was saying, hey, just put the gun down. You haven't killed anybody. You don't need to hurt anybody else.
The shooter apologized and slid the gun under the stall.
Meanwhile, outside the bathroom, teachers and students heard that gunfire that echoed throughout the hallways. That immediately sent students and staff into a panic, as many would rush to escape from the scene. And interestingly, not everyone was running away for dear life. Two courageous men started running in the direction of the gunshots. They were determined to protect their students and stop the shooter, even if it meant putting themselves in danger. And these men were Principal Greg Johnson and Assistant Principal Andy McGill. They found Eli in the bathroom, still armed and dangerous, and with remarkable bravery, they managed to subdue him and secure the weapon, preventing any further harm. By the time the cops arrived, they met Eli, already bonded up, and Principal Greg holding him down. Eli Serna was arrested and later sentenced to 23.5 years in prison for attempted murder, felonious assault, and inducing panic. During his trial, it was shown that Eli had been suffering from major depression, a factor contributing to his actions but did not excuse him. Logan was quickly transported to the hospital, where he underwent emergency surgery. His survival was nothing short of a miracle, and he still lives with about 100 bullet pellets in his back and chest.
Seaman threw a basketball at him as a diversion, then ran toward the bullets, knocking the gun from his hands and tackling the shooter to the ground.
May 25th, 2018, a school shooter storms into a class at Noblesville West Middle School in Indiana. Former football player and now teacher Jason Seaman would teach him a lesson he would never forget. 9:06 a.m., the school day's in full swing. In Jason's classroom, students were focused on a science test. Among them was Ella Whistler, a bright and cheerful student, unaware of the impending danger. Meanwhile, the gunman, a 13-year-old boy, known to his classmates as friendly and funny, had a dark plan. The day before, he had filmed a chilling video in his basement, revealing 2 handguns and ominously stating that he would take other people's lives before taking his own. He also warned 3 classmates via text messages not to come to school the next day. The boy's mother would later testify that the morning seemed normal. He got ready for school, talked about an upcoming band concert, but hidden in his backpack were a .22 caliber caliber handgun, a .45 caliber handgun, and a knife. As sad as it is, this school didn't have a metal detector, so it was easy for him to get the guns inside. During the second period, the boy asked to be excused from the classroom. He gets his backpack from his locker and heads towards the bathroom, where he prepares for his horrific act. Returning back to the classroom, he concealed his weapons under his hooded sweatshirt. As he re-entered the room, he pulls out the .22 caliber handgun and starts firing. The first shots hit Jason Seaman, who was helping Ella with a question about the quiz. But despite the chaos and pain, Seaman's instincts kick in. He grabs a small baseball bat and throws it at the shooter, momentarily distracting him. Now, Jason wasn't just any teacher. He's a formidable presence both in and out of the classroom. His physical fitness was evident to anyone who saw him. He has a background in 3 different sports: football, basketball, and track. And as a defensive lineman at Southern Illinois University, he was known for his speed, strength, and agility. His time on the field saw him accumulate 88 career tackles, helping his team to 2 conference titles and 3 playoff appearances. The students saw him not just as a teacher, but as a protector, someone who could just stand up to danger and keep him safe. Let's go back. The shooter shot Jason 3 times, and they all hit their target. But this didn't stop him. Ignoring those injuries, he charged at him and tackled him to the ground. His actions prevented further bloodshed. Meanwhile, he was yelling at the students to get out of the room. Fortunately, the police came quick and the shooter was arrested without further incident. Jason Seaman and Ella Whistler were both rushed to the hospital. Jason, despite being shot 3 times, was hailed as a hero for his bravery, but he doesn't like being referred to as a hero. He believes that he just did whatever he had to do, and it wasn't an act of heroism. Ella, though critically injured, survived and began her long road to recovery.
According to reports, got up on a table to shoot at students. When he tried to switch guns, that's when students tackled him and forced him to stop.
May 21st, 1998, Jacob Riker, a 17-year-old at Thurston High School, Oregon, didn't know that he'd have to play the hero that day. But when this other student started shooting, he was determined to stop him by all means. A 15-year-old freshman at Thurston High School had been showing evidence of being disturbed psychologically, and his parents had noticed it. They sought professional help for his increasingly erratic behavior, but nothing could prepare him for what was about to unfold. May 20th, 1998, Kip's turmoil reached its breaking point. In a fit of rage and confusion, he shot his father in the back of the head as he sat at the kitchen table. Later, when his mother returned home, he met her in the garage and shot her multiple times. But this was only the beginning of the evil he'd commit. May 21st, the next morning, after executing his parents, Kiplin drove his mother's car to Thurston High School, carrying with him a semi-automatic rifle, 2 handguns, and a knife, all hidden under this trench coat he wore. He would have 1,000 rounds of ammunition with him, proving he's ready to unleash maximum carnage. And as he walked through these schools' doors, he was met with resistance. This was because Kiplin Kinkle was suspended from Thurston High School the previous day after being found in possession of a loaded stolen handgun on school grounds. A friend had stolen the pistol from another friend's father and sold it to Kinkle the night before. This would lead to his suspension pending an expulsion hearing. So it was a surprise when students saw him walking into school that morning. Right there, Kiplin started shooting and then made his way to the school's cafeteria. About 300 students filled this place, chatting and laughing. Suddenly, the air was shattered by the deafening sound of gunfire. Kinkle had entered the room, his eyes cold and determined, as he began to unleash a barrage of bullets. Panic erupts immediately, and students are screaming, scrambling for cover. Amidst this pandemonium, Jacob Riker was focused on the shooter, waiting for the right time to pounce. That opportunity came when Kiplin reloaded his rifle. It was at this point that he estimated he had shot about 35 students and fired over 50 shots. Time seemed slow as Jacob assessed the situation. He knew that if Kip was allowed to continue, more friends would die. With a surge of adrenaline, Jacob pushed himself up from the floor and charged at Kip, closing the distance between them in a heartbeat. Jacob wrestled the rifle out of his hands, but they didn't know he had 2 pistols tucked in his belt. As they tussled to the ground, Kiplin pulled out one of the pistols and fired a shot into Jacob's chest. But Jacob's bravery proved infectious, with 6 students jumping on Kiplin and succeed in subduing him. They managed to pin him to the ground until the police arrived. The immediate threat was over, but the tension still lingered in the air. Jacob Riker's actions that day were nothing short of heroic. This kid was unbelievable. He had the presence of mind and the courage to confront this shooter, preventing further loss of life. His bravery in the face of unimaginable danger turned him into a symbol of hope and resilience for his community. Mr. Kinkle was sentenced to 111 years in prison without the possibility of parole after pleading guilty to 4 counts of murder and 26 6 counts of attempted murder. The sentence was upheld on appeal. Despite numerous legal challenges over the years, Kinkle was diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia and began taking antipsychotic medication after his arrest. The lives of 2 students, Ben Walker and Mikhail Nikolausen, were tragically cut short during the Thurston High School shooting. In the aftermath of this tragedy, the community of Springfield, Oregon, came together to honor the victims and support the survivors. A permanent memorial was established outside Thurston High School to remember those lost and to provide a place for reflection and healing.
But really, the big hero of the day today is a teacher who was able to disarm the girl who had the gun and hold her down until police got there.
May 6th, 2021. Students and staff at Rigby Middle School in Idaho ran for their lives as another student unleashed mayhem. But one teacher approached this shooter and showed that sometimes having a big heart is more important than having a big gun. That morning began like any other, with students bustling through their hallways, teachers preparing for their classes, and the usual gossip and laughter filling life in the air. But beneath the appearance of a normal day, an unimaginable danger was brewing. 8:55 a.m., a 12-year-old girl dressed in black and wearing a surgical mask wanders the hallways. She'd been seen earlier in the counselor's office, where she had seemingly an ordinary interaction with staff. But now, she was headed towards the southeast bathrooms, her backpack concealing a semi-automatic pistol. This was about the time the first period was beginning. Krista Knighting, a dedicated math teacher known for her calm demeanor and compassionate nature, was just preparing her lesson, unaware of what was going on with this little girl. It was 9:05 a.m. when the first gunshot rang out. At first, it was mistaken for a loud noise from construction work or a prank, but as the second and third shots echoed throughout the halls, the reality of the situation began to sink in. Panic spread like wildfire. Everybody was scrambling for cover, unsure of where the shots were coming from or who was responsible. Jim Wilson, the school's custodian, was the first to be shot. He was cleaning a specific area when he heard a loud bang. Initially, he didn't realize it was a gunshot until he saw the shooter raise her arm and felt a bullet hit his leg. Despite the injury, Wilson managed to get to the counseling office, where he received some first aid. Amidst the chaos, Krista Knighting emerged as an unlikely hero. She was in her classroom when she heard the shots fired, and instinctively, she ushered her students to safety and then stepped into the hallway, her heart pounding, but her mind clear. She spots the little girl holding the gun, her hands trembling. Knighting was really shocked when she discovered it was a little girl that was shooting. The expression on the teacher's face was not fear or anger, but concern. With calmness, Knighting approaches the little girl and speaks to her in a steady and reassuring voice. The girl, visibly distressed, didn't resist as Knighting gently placed her hand over the girl's and took the gun away.
"Are you the shooter?" And she just watched me, and I just walked up to her and I put my hand over her hand and I just slowly pulled the gun.
Knighting then did something extraordinary. She hugged the girl, offering comfort in a moment of crisis. She stayed with her, talked with her, kept her calm until the police arrived. Her actions not only disarmed the shooter, but also prevented further tragedy. In the end, the 3 victims of the shooting were taken to the Eastern Idaho Regional Medical Center. Dr. Michael Lemon, the trauma medical director, reported that all 3 had non-life-threatening injuries. The custodian was treated and released the same day, while the 2 students were kept overnight for observation. The school was placed on lockdown, and emergency services quickly arrived. The girl was taken into custody, and the wounded were taken care of. The community was left in shock, grappling with the events of that day and the heroism that had prevented a greater catastrophe.